Ensara TV ekerenga kiomogusi.
Savings made, because this is a project that had a certain budget, and any savings made probably should also be utilized to improve certain roads within the existing network. So, Chair, that is why KNHA is here.
Okay, thank you very much. So, question number 1 was to state the reasons for the omission of 6 interchanges from the original plan by the China Road and Bridge Corporation for the Nairobi's Western Bypass, despite the initial approval. So, KNHA, Vanadiji, you can take us through that.
Thank you, Chair. We've submitted, I think, through the clerk, our submission. I believe members have copies. All right, thank you, Chair. If I may take the committee through. On the project background, the Nairobi Western Bypass was undertaken under engineering, procurement, contracting, that is EPC contract. And the contractor was China Road and Bridge Corporation, which was contracted in October 2017 by the government of Kenya through the implementing agency, Kenya National Highways Authority, to carry out design and construction of the Nairobi Western Bypass on the basis of the employer's requirements. The project road is in Kiambu County and consists of the Nairobi Western Bypass Road, which is one of the major trunk road links in the Nairobi Road Network Master Plan. It starts from Gitaru Interchange and follows the Gitaru Road towards the northeastern and finally turns to the southeast near the Deru town, that is Rimuru Road, before ending at Ruaka town. The Western Bypass traverses several centers, including Gitaru, Wangige, Denderu, and Ruaka. In the preliminary design, the length of the main alignment of the road was 15.358 kilometers, with approximately 17.31 kilometers of service roads, and 6 interchanges were proposed in the design, and they included Luakabete, Wangige, Kihara, Denderu, Rumenye, and Ruaka. The design also included the drainage structures and soil retaining walls. And the works were revised, the scope of works was revised, and a meeting was held at the State Department of Infrastructure on 27 September 2021 to consider the project cost appraisal with the aim of containing the project costs within the contract sum. The employer gave directives to the contractor to appraise the scope of works, and the contractor subsequently presented the appraised scope of works, which was accepted, so that the project length was appraised to 14.77 kilometers length of the dual carriageway, and the number of interchanges was appraised to 4 number, that is at Luakabete, Wangige, Kihara, and Rumenye, without grade intersection provided at Ndenderu. The length of the service routes was also appraised to 18.1 kilometers, and the number of major crossings was increased by 6 number, that is 5 number underpasses and 1 bridge. And we wish to provide the following response to the committee. On the reasons for the omission of some interchanges. And the original scope entailed construction of 6 interchanges.
Which page are you?
I'm on page 1.
Okay. All right, go on.
The original scope entailed construction of 6 interchanges at Ruakabete, Wangige, Kihara, Ndenderu, Rumenye, and Ruaka, which were appraised to 4 number at Ruakabete, Wangige, Kihara, and Rumenye without grade intersection provided at Ndenderu, while Ruaka interchange was rescoped. And Chair, on table 1, we have provided the list of the interchanges. That was at Ruakabete interchange, which was constructed and is operational. There is Wangige interchange, which was completed and is operational. There is the Kihara interchange, which was constructed. There is Romania interchange, which was completed and is operational. There is number 5, Ndenderu interchange, which was descoped to a roundabout at the junction. And there is number 6, there is Ruaka interchange, which was also descoped. And on the clarification of why the payments were made to the contractor despite the changes in the scope, we wish to inform the committee that the Nairobi Western Bypass was undertaken under an EPC framework awarded to the contractor in October 2017 at a total cost of 170.9.
Point of order, Chair. Can the DG read complete his statement, because he is avoiding to read awarded to China Road and Bridge Corporation in October. He's jumping some part of the...
Which part is that?
He said contracting EPC contract awarded, then he jumped right now, China Road and Bridge Corporation, then he went to October. Can he read the entire of his response?
Well guided, Chair.
All right.
The Nairobi was taken under the engineering procurement contracting EPC contract awarded to China Road and Bridge Corporation, Kenya, in October 2017 at a total cost of $170,998,693.24. As at the time of completion, the contractor had received payments amounting to the $170,998,693.24 under the EPC contract. The contractor has not been paid any extra amount from what was agreed upon in the contract. As demonstrated earlier, the scope of interchanges was initially intended was appraised to contain the project within the original cost of $170,998,693.24. The preliminary design of the project required acquisition of approximately 22 hectares of land that had permanent buildings to be removed, and the process of acquisition was noted to be taking a long time and would result in project delays, and a huge prolongation costs would be inevitable. The project design was therefore changed with the objective of reducing the land required for the right-of-way for the road. More retaining walls were introduced in the project, and the land acquisition was reduced to 8.4 hectares. On Table 2, the status of the land acquisition for the project. I don't know, Chair, I stand guided. Do I read for all the Gazette notices or?
No, not really. You can just say as stated on the response, as stated in the table.
Thank you, Chair. So in Table 2, we have the status of the land acquisition of the project. In column 1, we have the various Kenya Gazette notices as listed. And we also indicate the total number of parcels affected, 250 in number. And the number of payment schedules received from the National Land Commission for the project affected persons, totaling 1.5 billion Kenya shillings, 1.571,283,009 billion, plus a second one of 300 million, 301,745,151 shillings, and a third one of 113,657,476 shillings. The total amount of payment schedules is 1,987,684,636 shillings. The total sum of money remitted to NLC.
Point of order. Engineer, you said 1 billion. Can you repeat that, please? The sum of payment schedules. 1
They are
billion.
in 3 parts.
No, the total sum of payment schedules.
Yes.
1 billion.
It is 1 billion.
Yes.
986 million.
Yes.
684,000.
Thank you.
And 636 shillings. Now, the total sum of money remitted to NLC by KNHA is 605,299,871 shillings. And we have a balance of 1,381,384,000 765 shillings. And the total acreage required is the 8.4064 hectares. In January, the contractor was notified of award of addendum number 3, which included the following additional works. That is, number 1, provision of a stormwater outfall at Kanjeru from kilometer 0 plus 147 left-hand side to Gathara River, a distance of approximately 400 meters to channel the water emanating from A104, this is the road leading to Naivasha, from A104 to prevent flooding at Kanjeru. And number 2, upgrading of bituminous standard to bituminous standard of the 1 kilometer Gatomomo Road beginning at the underpass at kilometer 2 plus 900 and joining ramp A of the Lower Kabete interchange. And number 3, connection to service road number 1 to ramp A of the Gitalu interchange. And number 4, upgrading of the road connecting service road 18 from Kirangali overpass to Jathaini, approximately 5.1 kilometers in length. This additional scope is funded by the GOK, Government of Kenya, at a total cost of shillings 815,740,720 shillings. On the Part C, on the measures state the measures put in place by the government.
I think before we go now to the next question, we needed to engage you on some of these issues, maybe before you go to the measures put. Or would you rather he finishes C? Yeah, I think I got distracted because we couldn't have gone to question B. We go question by question. It's connected. Or it's part of question 1.
Chair, if I may.
Yes, Clerk.
Chair, on your separator number 2, members, there is also a response to a statement by the chairman on compensation of landowners along the Nairobi Western Bypass. You see, the response he has just given is connected, separator number 2, the greenish one. If you go to page 2 of that response, number 1, it's connected to the response he has just given, and I was seeking guidance of the chair whether we can do the 2 as we move along.
Yes, it is well connected, and I believe once we come to engaging the DG, he will also shed light on this issue of the compensation, because I see the response that was given by the Cabinet Secretary has the same figures as to what you're saying. So I think once we come to that particular issue, we will engage on that one. I had made a request on the floor of the House, pertaining the compensation of landowners along the Nairobi Western Bypass. So I think we'll get to there. So let's finish your submission on the same question. We go to C and then D, but before we go to question number 2, we expedite question 1.
Thank you, Chair. On Part C, in order to provide connections and stroke accesses to more areas, the length of the service roads was increased from 17.311 kilometers to 18.173 kilometers. However, it was noted that despite the increased length of the service roads, it was necessary to enhance the accessibility by upgrading Gatomomo Road, connecting service road number 1 to the ramp A, and upgrading the Kirangali-Jataini Road. In addition to the constructed accesses and service roads, the government has planned to undertake construction of the following additional service roads to meet the needs of the road users. And in Table 3, the proposed additional service roads, stroke access roads. Number 1 is service road number 6, and those served by this road will have a connection to underpass and further to Wakabeta interchange, enabling them to move in any direction via the interchange. Number 2 is service road number 12, which eliminates the direct access to the bypass to provide access to Transoil petrol station and Pefa Church from the interchange and movement in both directions. Number 3 is service road number 14, which allows, the service road allows access to the bypass via interchange, and therefore no one is ladlocked, and PSVs will also pick and drop passengers from the service road and not on the main road. Number 4 is service road number 15, which allows those fronting the bypass on the left-hand side to access KNHA interchange, and also the residents will have access to PSVs of the main carriageway. Service road number 16-1, the road is essential in providing access to police station from those towards kilometer 9 at Munyaka and access the bypass without having to use the roundabout at Ndenderu. Service road number 22 allows continuous movement of traffic along this service road and access to the police station from those towards kilometer 9 Munyaka, and this link will also allow users to access the bypass without having to use the roundabout at Ndenderu. Service road number 25, the road will allow motorists fronting the service road access from the roundabout without the need to use the underpass towards the smaller main road chainage, thus eliminating longer distances covered. A 4-meter wide access road. The construction of this road is necessary to allow access to plots number 4470, 4471, 4477, 4478, 1532, 1584, and 1585. Service road number 16-2, this service road, once paved, will improve the accessibility to those two critical facilities, that is the police station and the health center. And number 10, development of a PSV terminus at Wangige to allow PSVs to pick and drop passengers from the terminus and ease congestion. If I may, Chair, proceed to Part D.
Yes.
As explained above, the Nairobi Western Bypass was undertaken.
Maybe it's good to go through the question, that is to highlight the steps taken by the government to hold to account the officials involved in colluding with the contractor, leading to the omission of the interchanges. Go on.
As explained above, the Nairobi Bypass was undertaken under an EPC contract by China Road and Bridge Corporation at a total cost of US dollars 170,998,693.24 cents. The project was substantially completed in June 2022 within time and cost. Payments to the contractor amounting to the US dollars 170,998,693.24 cents of the contract sum were made through the government-to-government financial agreement. Following the appraisal of the project, the rescoping of works resorted to savings and additional costs as tabulated below in Table 4. And in Table 4, Chair, we have the comparison of construction costs for preliminary design and as being constructed design schemes due on items affected by design changes. And Chair, we have several columns. One is the serial numbers, we have the location, we have the cost as per preliminary design, cost as constructed, and we have two columns whether for each element it's additional cost or there is a saving. And number 1, we have the Lower Kabete interchange.
Maybe you can say, as indicated, those numbers are many.
Okay.
So that we can go with you.
Thank you, Chair. We have them listed from number 1 up to number 13. And for number 1, going down as indicated in that table, we have the figures where some are additional costs, the second last column, and some are savings. From Lower Kabete interchange, where there was additional cost, Wangige interchange, there was additional cost. Ndenderu interchange, there is a saving. Romania interchange, there is additional costs. Ruaka interchange, there is a saving. Ruaka interchange, the second part, there is a saving. There is a service road from kilometer 17 to kilometer 18, there is additional cost, it's an increased length. Changing the median from 2 meters to 4 meters, that is serial number 7, there is additional cost. Number 8 is additional length of retaining walls, reinforced earth, that is additional cost. Number 9 is additional gabions of 1 kilometer and 106 meters additional cost. And we come to number 10. There's an additional length of 725 meters gravity retaining wall, additional costs. Additional 455 meters cantilever retaining wall, additional cost. And number 12, there is additional one number overpass and 5 number underpasses, additional costs. And there is also the footbridges. And the footbridges, there is a saving. And therefore, Chair, we have the totals as stated at the last row.
Yeah. Maybe you can explain what you mean by additional cost and saving, and what could have necessitated either. They can allow members to come in and have their comments.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the design of this road, given the space that we had in terms of width, necessitated acquisition of land on the sites. That is the 22 hectares that I mentioned. Now, we are familiar somewhat with the area that we are talking about, I believe. It's a very densely populated area, very built up, and therefore you need to acquire the land. It means you are removing people from their homes, and it becomes a lengthy process. We had quite a number of court cases among other issues. And we realized that for us to accommodate the road, because you see, there's a natural slope of particular soils that you cannot do a vertical cut on just any soil. Maybe when you have rock, you can do a vertical 90 degrees. But when you have soil, you have to extend. Now, when you have to extend that embankment of the road, it therefore means you have to acquire land. We resolved that instead of the lengthy and this acquisition process, with the resistance we were getting from the communities, it is better to do the vertical walls. And with those vertical walls, it requires that we do now extra costs because of the difficulties encountered. Yes, the original design was meant to acquire, but you're in a situation where the resistance and the process is taking, the resistance from the community, etc., is taking much longer, and some are even going to court. So to do the vertical walls, these are the walls that I'm describing, some of them extending beyond 1 kilometer. It means you need additional resources. These resources need to come from the contract that you have. The contract is an EPC, which is basically a lump sum contract, but it has indications on various elements of construction. Now, these elements had been built in the various bills of quantities. So you go and you save here, but you need an additional here to try to balance the contract and accelerate or at least finish within the time given.
Sure.
That is how the savings and the extras arise.
Yes, Senator Wambua.
I will stick to this. I was just whispering to Senator Mazai, is always whispering to me and saying...
We can't hear you, Senator.
I'm saying we are whispering here with Senator Mazai and saying some counties are very lucky, but we will not go there. we will stick to this.
Yeah, we are speaking about the road.
Yes. Yeah. So, Chair, so I see, DG, I'm not very good with maths, so you will help me here. I see additional cost. It's 39,597,397.58. That's in dollars, right? And the savings is 38,698,600.65. So where are we? Have we lost? Have we gained? What does that mean? Is it a loss for the exchequer? Is it a gain? How would you summarize that?
Yeah, you can respond to that.
You are right, Honorable Senator. The additional costs, as indicated, is 39,597,387.58 US dollars, and the savings were 38,698,600.65. There's a slight difference between the two figures. That's correct.
It's not.
And the additional costs are actually higher, slightly higher by about, I think, 800 and something $1,000, higher than the savings. The contractor never claimed for the additional in this instance. So we close the contract at the contract sum.
Chair.
So that means if you subtract savings to the additional or additional to savings, it's somewhat a few 100,000. I don't know. Let me do the math as the Senator
Chair,
Chute.
I wanted to know from the engineer the anticipated costs and anticipated cost. So when they signed the contract, there was a fixed amount of money. So when they did their feasibility studies, didn't they know that there are houses, there are properties around or adjacent to those roads? Why are you bringing a new issue? Because definitely you've done your feasibility studies. You knew there were houses there, which were there, some of them maybe even 100 years ago. You agreed on a fixed amount, and then now you are telling us, after reducing many things, you are telling us you've saved money. Why do you bring something you already have anticipated? There is this cost. Why are you bringing extra cost to the government?
Thank you, Chair. The issue of land acquisition, Chair, has become a very complex issue for all of us who will do capital projects. Because ideally, for projects, the ideal way, it would be the government acquires the entire corridor, clears all the properties and assets and the people who are within that corridor. And once they are cleared from the site, it is then that you should move to construction. The reality is that that is not happening. We live in this country, we know it is not happening. At our stage of development, it is not probably the most pragmatic thing to do. So there are times we move into a site where it is not clear of any encumbrance. And in many instances, you are able to proceed and get the NLC to get the land for you in good time, in reasonable time within construction. The trouble we've had with this project is, number one, if you look at the density and the sizes of the individual parcels of land, it induces quite a bit of resistance. And that resistance became more or less impossible to handle within the time frame that we have. A decision needed to be made that here we are in this project. The greater benefit for this country would be to proceed with this construction. And since you may not have the entire land space that you need, could you re-engineer the road so that we are able to construct, given that we have a credit from the government of China, which also has timelines? And that is what I believe the government proceeded to do. Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
Senator Charadge.
Chair, I will have quite...
Okay. Shoot.
I did, and I was given, unless you are not the chair. Oh, okay. Maybe from my leader. Thank you, Chair. So, good question from Senator Chute. DG, where does the issue of forceful acquisition of land to facilitate early entry, when does it kick in? Because you and I know we have a project that has stuck in some place between Kibwezi and Mwingi, and the issues there are related to what Senator Chute is asking. That you have identified that this is going to be the corridor. There are instances where you decide to do forceful evictions, people to get out, and forceful acquisition for early entry into a project site. Was that not visible for Kiambu? Or maybe, I don't know, for the Western Bypass? Wasn't that not a possibility? Couldn't you forcefully acquire the land there? Thank you.
I think we do not do any forceful evictions for acquisition of land. I think we are entering private property, and that is respected as stated in our constitution and among many other laws. So we do not at all enter into somebody's land forcibly, and we would not. It would be totally unduly. We do get grants or permission through the NLC for early entry. But early entry has some rules that guide it. You would not move somebody from their home. You would not affect an operating institution that has nowhere to go to just in public interest to construct the road. You would have to move them suitably by compensation. Now, the difference between the Western bypass and what the Senator is mentioning is probably the land sizes and the kind of densities in terms of development that we have. Because if one has 10 acres, you need just 5 meters of their land. You are not even touching his home or her home. You could enter that land. But you wouldn't enter a land where if you enter 10 meters, you are demolishing their household, their house. That is the difference. So early entry is guided by some rules, and of course, you cannot injure the persons who are affected. Thank you, Chair.
That is a rider on what Senator Ombo has asked.
Okay, 1 minute.
Chair, I want the engineer to tell us, in a normal contract, there is a variation aspect of that contract. And then there is such amount of money, then you've anticipated there will be a variation, and you've put this percentage of money. That contract will be easy to manage. In the situation that this contract is in, you can, because there is no variation aspect, you can reduce the quantity of work is supposed to be done, reduce it to a smaller quantity, and then the new issue you are bringing in can be of a certain amount of money. I want to ask the engineer, you've already reduced, let's say for example, a 10-kilometer road for a 2-kilometer road. The money that is supposed to be here, you've reduced it in 2 kilometers. Do you have an arbiter who looks at these things? Because the contract is between KNHA and China roads. Who will look at the reduced work that's supposed to be done, vice versa the work which was supposed to be done? How do you compare the contract, and who looks at, is there anybody who can look at these things and say, look, the new issue you are bringing in does not cost this much? How do you manage those things? Because it's a contract between two people. You can agree with China roads, reduce the road from 10 kilometer to 2 kilometer, and the difference may not be proportionate. How do you manage those things? I think, do you understand?
Yes, Banadiji, you can answer, Senator Chute.
The framework that we are working on here is the EPC, which is basically a lump sum cost, but it is broken down into several elements of these roadworks. These roadworks, in as much as it's a lump sum, have been priced individually. And there is a BOQ, a bill of quantities. Therefore, there is a pricing element where if you are changing something to another one, there should be relationship. Now, the purpose of having this framework is to lock the contract sum, that there are no variations. But then it must meet the employer's requirements. And the employer's requirement would be stated in the contract, that we want this road to move from point A to point B. It should be a dual carriageway. It should have this width. It should have this drainage. Once that is achieved, then the employer's requirements are, if you are looking at the changes, that you're making, you must also take care of the employer's requirements, which is why people would not like connive or something like that, because it is in the interest. It is in the interest of the public that you're doing this one. And the documentation is clear in the appraisal documents, where you are changing from A to B, and which quantities you are changing, and which amounts are affected.
Compensation of land This matter has not been adequately responded to. Chair, I will be requesting that the CEO and National Land Commission appear. But because in the audit query of financial year 2021-2022 and the financial statements that were signed by Engineer Ndungu and his counterparts, there was no verifiable beneficiaries and in terms of acreage that was provided. And then, so my question would be, I thought, Bwana DG, which is a very simple question, by the time you award a tender, as my colleagues have asked, you must have full ownership, because this total sum of the contract was 170 million US dollars, 998,693.24. Is such a huge contract that it demands what we call due diligence from the agency. So why would you move to a site that you are not sure of the land? Number one. Number two, on land compensation, don't you think in your initial contract which you ordered to China, China Road and Bridge Corporation, you said you needed 22 hectares, but you ended up ending with 8.4 hectares. Will it not alter the design and the contents of contract, therefore affecting the entire contract total sum? Number three, on the road interchanges, I've seen your aspirations to try and correct a place called Kiringari, Kiguni, Kibiku, Kathika. Those people are forced to drive 4 kilometers to Karura to access their homes. In Kiguni Junction Bridge, it ends Kwa Michael with no clear connection. Bypass both Kirangi and Kathika have a population of 65,000 population on both sides of the road. This area serves 17 institutions of education, both private and public, 21 churches, 1 police station, 3 AP camps, public health institution, including Nyathuna Level 4 Hospital. This was an initial plan. Why was this area not covered, provided with necessary interchanges, marking the Bwana DG that this wananchi suffer and our public participation was done, having in mind the total contract sum that included catering for these people of Kirengani and Kathika, which are on both sides of the road. DG, would you agree with me that this contract was altered with some ulterior motives? Because in the report which you have and under even the OAG, there was supposed to be 6 dual lanes. In the first interchange, you altered. Of course, there were 6 interchanges with 2 dual lanes with 7 meters wide. The first interchange, you redesign to reinforce the at 1.34 meters plus building gravity walls of 725 meters, which the first interchange was altered. The second interchange, you argued there was lack of land. Number 3, the third interchange, you say the challenge of budget so that you don't go beyond the contract sum. The fourth interchange, you wanted to provide for box underpass. And the fifth interchange was because of the challenge of lack of land. So do you agree with me that the character design of that contract was altered and changed from different to the contract that was awarded at the total sum of 170 million US dollars? Number 3, question number 3. Number 3, that is number 4, sorry. In CSR, there were 9 activities. You are supposed to, the contractor was supposed to build water kiosks, access roads, learning institutions. In the environmental processes, when you do a contract, you do CSR activities through the chair that benefit the locals. And I would request the committee to visit some of these projects because there were 9 of them. why would you allow the contractor to build CSR projects outside the locality of where the project is, contravening the environmental impact assessment and the environmental requirement? Number one on that CSR. Number two, how many of these 9 activities on CSR were completed? Are they usable? And can you provide the latest status of these 9 activities of CSR? And finally, on that aspect of CSR, provide the component of public participation, details where it was held, the suggestions that were done.
Maybe the hospitality, you can wait. The hospitality team, you can wait, because we are in the middle.
So, Chair, so that on the public participation, the issue of public participation is critical. I refer you to see for Finance Bill of 2013 of Kiambu, where CCM pushed to did not do public participation on Finance Bill of 2013. The courts ruled that public participation is an ingredient in any transaction and it can nullify the entire project. So can you provide the aspects of public participation? And finally, in your financial statement, there were disbursements that were made of 58.9.7 billion from the CPK, which you disclose in your financial statement. I'm talking about something you disclose as the entity. And luckily enough, you are the one who signed off that financial statement then. But you didn't, you need to give us a letter through the chair that gave you authority not to disclose the monthly disbursement as per the regulations of the law. Because if you are paying, for example, 4 installments to the contractor, you must disclose those details, which you did not disclose in your financial statement. You only disclose the transfer of government entities from CBK of 58.7 billion. Within that number 5, where is the bank account? Because the law demands under PMF. Can you provide the bank account that was open to finance this project? And finally, you can answer this or the NLC will answer. Where is the special purpose account that was opened for compensation of National Land Commission to the beneficiaries of through the National Land Compensation? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Questions. That's why maybe this committee had initially directed that any statement that is requested by a senator should appear before for review, so that any additional questions should be put in place so that we can give the witness or anybody who is invited to this committee ample time to come with those documents, because I believe if they were aware of that, probably we could have expedited this issue faster. But having said that, Bwana DG, remember the road that we are talking about is a road that is in my county, that is Kiambu County. So I would urge you to attempt to answer all those questions convincingly and accurately, so that we can expedite on this issue. And where you are at it, you can include the statement that I had requested earlier on the issue of the people of Kabete sub-county, when they are going to be compensated for their land, which was acquired in 2018. And there has been a push and pull between KNHA and NLC. And that's why I like it when Senator Cherargei says that we should invite the CEO of NLC to also come here and tell us how much money do they owe the people of Kiambu and how much money do they owe the people of Kenya when it comes to land acquisition. So you had given you have given a response to say that the ministry is engaging Treasury to see whether they'll get additional allocation, and once that additional allocation is given, that is the previous statement that was answered by CS Kipchumba Murkomen. So also, are you aware whether they have put any allocation, or how much have you asked from your department as per the compensation that you need to compensate these people? So I know there are so many questions. If you forget, we'll remind you. But I praise this committee on those.
Chair, with your indulgence, so Chair, in their disclosure of financial statements, naturally, Chair, when you award the contract, and I know now that this roads committee, you must have retention money. But this was the only project that in their financial statements, they didn't have retentions and payables. I would want to know from the DG where is the authority that they used not to have that in their process. And in addition to that,
I suggest he deals with that. There'll be so many questions. Some of them might be lost in translation.
But I thought he writes so that he answers.
Yeah, but you are still here, and you're still here. So any additional information, I'll give you time. So that.
Thank you, Chair. I believe the first question was on the verifiable figures and beneficiaries on the amounts regarding the land acquisition, and also why we move into sites where the sites have encumbrances. And Chair, in terms of the land acquisition, we follow the Land Act, and we work together with the National Land Commission in very many details, where we start by identifying the property that is going to be acquired. We proceed to get an approval from the CS, who writes to the NLC. They will inspect the land in details. They will hold inquiries. They will proceed to prepare awards to the respective landowners. The amounts that NLC prepares on behalf of the government are the ones that we pay. It is correct that there are issues that were raised by the OAG, and I think that is a matter that we are resolving between us and the OAG and the NLC, because the full documentation for compensation is verifiable. The figures that we pay have been prepared by NLC by following the due process. On why sometimes there is movement, I said the ideal way, and this probably is the best thing that we could do, is of course to move to a place where there are no encumbrances. But then you have also other factors to look at. Number one, you have the credit that you have received. It has timelines. You have your limited budgets that would acquire that land. If you delay to acquire that land, maybe another 5 or 6 years, maybe it will take us to do that. The credit for that construction of roads may not be available. And so at times, yes, it is true that we move into land that is not fully encumbered as we work through the process of acquisition. And of course, where we get chances like the early entry and there isn't much resistance, we are able to construct the road, and I think it is beneficial overall. On the question on land acquisition, that we acquired less, it is true that we acquired less land than initially envisaged. And Chair, there is something that we also must accept, that the road that was there was a single carriageway. A single carriageway where you could crisscross almost at any point, as long as there is no oncoming vehicle. When you make a dual carriageway in any place, and this is good development, because this is more of a ring road, one of the ring roads around Nairobi, you must expect your lives, if you are living near there, to be affected. It is natural. I mean, in the 80s, when the Naivasha road was dualed, there was a lot of disruption. Families would crisscross from one end to the other. It is no longer possible to do that at every other point. But then these ring roads also need some support in terms of infrastructure. And Chair, I'm sure you are aware of some roads that KERA is doing and KURA is doing, which fit into the scheme of things. Because there is that disruption that at kilometer X, if we have a crossing that allows an individual or a vehicle to move from one side of the dual carriageway to the other one, it may not be at every point. You may need to go a kilometer or two and you are disrupted. But then the services that we have offered to the country, I believe, are beneficial. And of course, we expect the other agencies also to fit in so that there is mobility and access among the people. On the local circulation for roads, the project engineer, I think, will assist me, Chair, through you, Chair, at some point. The changes in interchanges on whether there is ulterior motives or it is with ill intentions. Chair, the issue of land is a big issue. I repeat myself, unfortunately. And when you are unable to get the land that you need, and you realize you have timelines, and you're also dealing with money or funds that are coming from a different government, from a different framework. In this instance, the government of China. They have their own timelines and they want the money expended within a certain time frame. It becomes a difficult choice on what to do. Because if you are not getting the land, then you might as well redesign and at least you have a road that runs through from end to end, and then you can try to retrofit a few things and also support this infrastructure using the back roads. And I think this is what we did, and we believe it is in the interest of the country. Question number 5 was on the CSR. Chair, if you allow that the project engineer would fill in. On the disclosures of the bank accounts, Chair, it is there in the PFMA Act that we should open a project account for each and every project. And this is a matter we have raised with Treasury. It has been raised by the Auditor General. But then we need to be pragmatic. There are several ways of funding projects, Chair. One is where we are not even the ones making the payments. The payment is processed from the site team. It comes to Kenya National Highways Authority. It goes through our ministry to Treasury. All the papers are in place, but the payments are made from the Chinese government to the contractor directly. Would we need an account, a bank account opened in Kenya or even overseas, if possible, for such a purpose? I don't believe we would. We have projects that are funded with money that comes, the real cash comes to Kenya. And in those instances, we open a project account because it is necessary so that we have the monitoring of the funds in and out of that project. So in this instance, it was not necessary. We have discussed many times and we have correspondences between us and Treasury. And operating accounts is not cheap overall. So when you have one account that could consolidate activities, say operations of an organization, we believe it's more prudent. But then others, I've explained, you do not need actually a bank account for the project. And Treasury is agreeable because we process this through Treasury. On the disclosures, Chair, I think I would need to consult. I was not prepared for that question. If you allow, maybe I could send maybe a written note. If you allow, I was not prepared. There was the question of retention of funds. I would wish maybe Engineer Ming, through you, Chair, to confirm. I don't have the exact position because we do retentions for when we make payments. There was a question on their additional funds. The one before the last one, maybe Senator. I think I missed a bit of it. Or if you allow, Chair, I could consult my colleagues.
Maybe we, first of all, you can proceed.
My name is Engineer George Aming. There was the issue of access roads. This project, being an EPC, as the DG had mentioned, had a defined scope, which included the length of the main road and the service roads. Now, through addendum number 2, the service roads were increased from 17 to 18 kilometers. Then there was also the issue of whether there was public participation. I would wish to mention that we received several petitions from the public because the project had a defined scope. Yet there was need for more than the 18 kilometers that was defined in the contract. So through negotiations, that was increased to 18 kilometers in the first addendum, which was addendum number 2, but within the contract sum of the original contract. Now, what was extra, which needed to be covered, was also captured in addendum number 3, and that captures the circulation around Kibiku, Kirangari, through addendum number 3, which is partially completed. And the works currently remain suspended because of budget constraints. But in the event that the budget is provided, then we hope that all the concerns around Kirangari and Kibiku will be sorted out. There was also the question of CSR. I wish to mention that this was an EPC with a defined scope. Unfortunately, there was no defined CSR in the project. The only way the CSR was being managed in this project was based on a need basis, and only to the extent that the project road was affecting particular communities or a section along the road. I would give an example of Kihara Primary School. Kihara Primary School was affected by the construction because the movement of kids on from the left and to the right, and the contractor was also through negotiations. The contractor was also using their compound to keep the equipment and to store materials, and out of that, they negotiated and agreed that the school will have a playing field, and also the contractor will build for them a perimeter wall for the safety of the children. So that is as far as CSR on this project is concerned. Of course, there were other CSR needs, but those would only be carried out at the discretion of the contractor, and to the extent that they were also in his interest to carry them out. Thank you. Retention, Chair, if you could kindly allow, maybe you give us some time. I confirm the numbers because I don't have the answer with me. Thank you.
Okay.
Chair, if you allow on the retention, if I may add something, even as we clarify, we are looking at a contractor who is directly being paid by the government of China. And possibly that is why it may not reflect in our bank accounts, but we'll need to check and confirm as to how would you retain when it is being paid outside there, and it is 100% paid out there. However, to confirm to the senator that the retention is normally put in place so that in case there is a defect, then there will be an issue, that money would be used to repair that road. There are various ways of guarding the employer's interest in the event that a contractor is doing work that is not perfect as required. That would mean you have a performance guarantee, and this was in place, and it also ensures that if there was an issue, then the repairs would be undertaken. In this particular instance, the road has gone through the defects notification period, and we have no issues with the contractor. I thank you, Chair.
Just on retention, DG, it is the law. It is as simple as that. You cannot say you can pay retention money simply because it's funded. Because, Chair, out of curiosity, DG, you did an addendum number 3 where an additional money, and I had asked the legal if this variation was within the 25% as allowed. There was amount of Kenya shillings of 815,740,720 that was paid for additional scope of work. So one, was this a variation or an additional contract to the main contractor? Because if it was additional contract, then it should have been floated. But if it was a variation, then you must tell us which authority did you use. And finally, Chair, on the issue of payments through the bank account, and this is the law. The law, Chair, says that if I have a contractor, for purposes of neatness of audit, if I have a contractor that I'm paying 40 million per month, it must be indicated. It is not at the discretion of National Treasury that today you just receive in government entities, and I'm happy that you are the one who signed your financial statements, your indulgence chair, yourself, Engineer Kungu Ndungu, Director General, Engineer Charles Obon, Director Development, and CPA Chanje Kera, Deputy Director, ISPAC number 8279. The law is very specific that when you do payments, you must disclose. You cannot say, I will disclose at the end of the financial year. So, Chair, I really want to see, because the DG is saying that they were correspondence from the National Treasury telling them, no, ignore the law, since it will be a lot of issues that will go through, let us use one. So the DG provide correspondence that give them the authority. And finally on CSR, I agree with your site engineer, in our law, every contractor has a right to do CSR. And in your own audit, there were 9 activities that was done by this contractor. Chair, and one of in their report, they are saying there was supposed to be water kiosk. You did add access road by 1 kilometer, and they were supposed, I've heard of Kiara Primary, where you are saying they have built a wall and supported. Chair, can the site engineer and the DG be honest with the committee and disclose the number of CSR activities? And I would request with your indulgence, this is your county, so it should be very special in your heart that you visit some of these projects and ascertain, so that your people could be suffering. Because if the people and I agree, DG is arguing that, since we are beneficiaries of these good projects, wacha kiatu itufinye, but let us look at the bigger picture. But the inconvenience that we are going to over 65,000 cannot be compensated. Yet this project has been funded that will be paid by Kenyans to the China. It is not a grant, it is not a tokenism. We must get value for our money. So those are my final 3 questions. I thank you, Chair.
Some statements in regards to these projects, because my people have also not been compensated. And I like your gusto as you ask these questions. So let's continue fighting for the people of Kenya together. Yes, Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Chair. Cheragi now has reduced the committee and elevated himself to be the chair. That is fine. Chair, one of the things that we do with this statement is that we also learn. It's also a learning process for us. So maybe the DG can educate us on the mode of payment for this project, it being a turnkey project. So if then we were supposed to have some retention, where would that go? Or where would that retention be? Because even the amount is being paid outside to a foreign contractor. So are they supposed to send the money then to who? Where is that retention supposed to go? Secondly, and this is for Senator Cheragei. Yes, please. Chair, I have realized that Cheragei has a lot of information about this road. Yeah. Too much. He's actually making reference to documents on his phone, which documents are not available to this committee, so he reduces members of this committee to spectators while processing his own statement. Chair,
I thought most of...
You have not been given the point of order.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, wait for Senator Wambo to finish.
And there isn't even anything to to raise a point of order. I'm just made an observation.
Okay, thank you.
that I'm not saying having a lot of information is a bad thing. No, you should actually have a lot of information about my road so that you can also ask questions about my road. I just made reference to a fact. I saw even Perry's, so that Perry is wondering, hey, this man has a lot of information. Where is he coming from? I thank you, Chair.
And whether that information is accurate or not. Yeah, because it should have been provided for this committee to also help you on that issue. But at least we have the DG to tell us whether it's accurate or not. So you can answer to
Chair,
those questions.
Some of this information are within the OAG report of financial statements of 2021 to 2023. So it is a public document that anybody can access.
Okay.
So an OAG is a constitutional body that has power to audit. Thank you.
Right. Bana DG?
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd wish to start with the issue of the 800 million additional costs. And Chair, we realize what the Honorable Senator Cherage is mentioning, that there is need for the communities that surround a project, like I indicated earlier. Any development will bring some disruption. And typically, if you do a road, there's significant disruption among communities. And Chair, it is after engaging communities in several barazas, I think some of them I personally attended with the then PS, that we came up with a need for some priority projects given budgetary constraints. And that is why we have the upgrading of Gatomomo Road was indicated as one of the most critical roads for the community to connect the community around. And then the Kirangari and Jadaini Road was also considered as one of the most critical that the communities would need so that they're able to access and have circulation related to this new dual carriageway. And this is why the government engaged the same contractor, yes, with a small variation to make sure that some access is provided. It is also correct, Chair, that for the community fully to be able to access and to also communicate across the dual carriageway, we have listed and owned up that there are some roads that may need improvement. And this may come through the various agencies of government, not necessarily Kenya National Highways Authority. On the project accounts, Chair, it is an issue, and I think it is something that the OEG has raised, and we need to be practical, I think, at some point. We have raised it through the National Treasury. We probably would have several hundred projects as Kenya National Highways Authority. It would also mean that we open for each of those an account. We are talking of maybe several hundred accounts spread across the banking system. It is probably the correct thing to do. It is the law, it is there, but it is something that we also need to see whether Parliament would assist us to be more practical. Because if one has a schedule that the Auditor General can verify from the bank statements, would it be more practical? Remember, Chair, we are even moving to a single account. So opening those many hundred accounts probably is not the most pragmatic thing to do in as much as it is. And it is something that is before Treasury.
Point of order, Chair. Could the DG contradicting himself, because in his earlier submission, he said every single project, they have a project account. Now he's saying we will turn to have a single account, and that was part of it. And secondly, he was saying since this money was money that was coming from a different China government, it was supposed to not to disclose more information because it was a direct payment. Is he contradicting himself?
I think I understand he is putting on a proposal for this committee also to think about it, whether it will be appropriate for 100 projects to have 100 accounts. So, and I think that is part of what I'll be giving as a directive at the conclusion of the committee also to help assist in some of these scenarios, because there is a question that he posed that this EPC project, should you have an account for a retainer, yet the money is coming direct from China or wherever, all the way to the contractor. So I think this is something that require policy guideline and direction. So we'll be deliberating that as we conclude. And I suggest that, because that's the only question that the DG has answered. There's several, and we have the senator for Lamu here. So I would suggest we move a little bit faster so that we get the answer. And I don't know whether you answered me on the issue of the people of Kabete sub-county, when they are going to be compensated, those whose land was taken in 2018. And remember, they had also asked whether they will be paid as per the current value. Because you see, if you haven't compensated them since you did the acquisition, so you need to pay them as per current value of today. May I hear that answer?
Chair, on the land issue, in our submission we have indicated sorry?
You distracted him. What was the issue?
Chair, because I just wanted clarity, can you finish the line of thought so that the committee gets what you wanted to say about this proposal?
All right, then let's not distract the DG. Yeah, you were talking about the accounts, 1,100 accounts.
Yes, and I think I mentioned that it needs to be a pragmatic approach. I know it is in law, but it needs to be a pragmatic. And I was explaining that we are all aware that Treasury is moving to a single account, single bank account, where there will be only one account which we'll be putting our monies into, and not some several hundreds or several tens of bank accounts with all sorts of, with banks from all other agencies around government. So there needs to be some direction. Probably we need to discuss or get help from Parliament to have a law that is probably more pragmatic. Because if you submit a schedule, that's what I was explaining, that if you have a schedule that demonstrates this is what was paid, this is what we received, for project A all the way to project 100, and at the bottom you can provide the bank balance, then I think it should satisfy probably the audit queries that we've been receiving. Chair, there was a query on
that one, Chair, so that now we just move from there. On that one, then Chair, through you, I think then you should require KNHA to put that legislative proposal, that intervention that you want, in writing, so that then it becomes part of the business of the committee to evaluate whether really what they are saying is something that we want to develop into an amendment of existing laws, or maybe provide a policy guideline. I think that would help.
Yes. DJ?
Yeah, we could. We will do that. We will put together a written request in that regard. Chair, there was the query on the retention, and it is correct that the employer should be guarded at all times in terms of the quality of works that will be done, and this is why the retention of money is practiced in contract administration. Now, we have a direct payment method where the financier of the project is in China, the contractor is in China, the payments are done, like I explained, after being processed from ourselves, through our ministry, through Treasury, and they are given to the bank that is paying this contractor. It's a little bit tricky to have a retention in that instance, because no money is coming to us, we have no fraction of any money on ourselves.
Acquisition of Western Bypass?
Just what you are saying, Bwana DG, in your submission, through the indulgence of the chair, is that since the Chinese are funding projects, they supersede our law, because retention is there, it's a standard, it is in our law.
May I?
Because if today, because it is a Western Bypass, if today there are defects on that road, which money will you use to repair? Will you now come to Exchequer and say, since the China corporation built that project and he was paid, we didn't retain any retention, so we'll go back to the taxpayer to look for more money for repairs, and yet pay back their debt.
Thank you. Chair, if I may.
Okay, DJ.
Chair, if I may. Sorry about that. We have jogged our memories. The project engineer has confirmed to me they used to provide retention guarantees.
But in your financial statements, there is not that money, not number 5.
It would be a bank guarantee.
Yourself and your development engineer and the person who signed off the financial statement, in note number 5 in your financial disclosures, you have indicated there are no payables and there are no retentions. And it is in your financial statements, it originates from you.
There is no retention, but there is a retention guarantee.
So where is the money in case, where will you get that guarantee from? Is it Exim Bank or the Bank of...
No, it would be the local banks.
Yeah, but you are saying the money came direct to pay the contract?
Can I clarify maybe again?
Say that with the law, which authority are you using? Because even the contractor that I work with KNHA, you must have their retention money. You cannot say since there is retention guarantee, it is 0 on the balance of retention money. I think the chair, because this is your project in your county, I can request maybe DG can be given time to go and discuss and get from his finance experts. I wish the person who signed off the financial statements would have been here. Because we cannot say, since money comes from outside the country, our law becomes sufficient. Even when you look at the section 151 on the public disposal and even public-private partnership and public disposal act, is very clear.
I think the DG is here.
Yes.
So if you are clarifying and finishing that matter, we will gladly want to hear your statement.
But
1 minute. But as the senator is requesting, we can give you some time.
But Chair, we cannot allow the DG before this committee, which has a jurisdiction of a high court, to prosecute an illegality. I think it will be unfair to everybody because you will write a report and it will set a dangerous precedent where since the money comes from outside and we are paying, Chair, it's more than 11 trillion that we owe.
Okay, give him time to respond.
The payments are being done from a foreign government, a foreign funding agency, to a foreign company that is constructing the road. There is no cash that comes to the Republic of Kenya. Let us be very clear on that.
No, Chair.
Through the project.
Chair, the DG about on a point of order. Then why disclose in your financial statements?
Can we have the DG first of all answer that question? Then we interject. Maybe he has an answer for that.
But he has said it comes from foreign to the contractor. Yet in their financial statement is through the payment.
You mentioned about guarantee. Kindly finish your...
And I was trying to explain, Chair and honorable members, that beyond that movement, there is no cash that we would keep ourselves, because when we pay, say, the ones in maintenance, we keep that proportion of retention in a bank account, because we have the cash and we are supposed to pay this person. If, say, we are retaining 10%, for 100 shillings, we set aside the 10% and keep it in a bank account in cash. But in this instance, there is no cash that is going through Kenya in our in our system.
Chair, point of order.
Chair,
point of order. The DG should stop misleading the committee. I wish you would go back and still consult, because even in section 151, even in complex contracts, before even handing over, you must retain the retention money. And he's arguing that, in fact, he has removed Kenya from the entire process. He's saying the money comes from foreign country, it goes back to direct to the contractor. Even he's not saying they are the conveyor belt of that amount. Then are you not applying double standards? If a local contractor, you are retaining their money, but if I'm a contractor getting money outside the country, it is violation of the law. So, Chair, the DG is misleading the committee. Can we get time to
I'm still interested in his response. I haven't had him respond conclusively.
But he has finished his response.
He had not.
No, Chair,
he had not. You are interjecting.
Chair had not.
He had not.
I was explaining.
Yeah.
Because this is a question that I asked Charagi, to be fair. I said, some of us want to learn. I have a project, a big project like
Yes.
this. I also want to learn.
Yes.
So if we can, the question that I'd ask maybe would help us. In a situation like this, where would that retention be? Because if it is true that money is coming from a foreign government, and the money is being paid to a foreign contractor,
And it is a debt to them.
so in our case, where would that money be? Where would that
Retain,
retention
yes.
be sent?
Yeah, and that is what DG is attempting to answer.
Yes, and since we are not able to take the cash and now keep it in a bank account, what we do is we require a guarantee. And the guarantee is issued by banks in Kenya, and therefore it is accessible to Kenya National Highways Authority in the event that there are defects in the works. And that is how you do it, because the cash is not with us so that we can slice part of it, make a separate check, and we bank it in a separate account and pay off the contractor for the rest. That is the bit I was explaining, that to secure the employer, you use a guarantee, a bank guarantee that is as good as cash. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, can I read some law to the DG? This is section 151, 1H. Ensure that the contract is complete prior to closing the contract file. Include all handing over procedures, transfer of title if need be, and the final retention has been made. So the retention must be there. You should have told us if the and then why did you, if you had retention guarantee one a DG, which is equal to cash, then in your financial statements, note number 5, how much was it? The guarantee was how much? And which bank did that retention guarantee is? If you give me that answer, Chair, I will raise my case, but so long as then the retention money was not there, somebody had the retention money. Because if retention guarantee is same as cash, let's assume I have a guarantee of 1 billion, which is equal to cash. And then in your financial statements, you are saying there is no payables and there is no retention. So on this project, Chair, how much guarantee, which is equal to cash, was in this, and you refused to disclose in your financial statement? So how much was it? Which bank did it hold? Because you have said local banks.
Yes, but if we go by that pace, then I believe we will leave here at around 2.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, Chair and Honorable Senator, is that the retention guarantees were there. As for the financial statements, of course, my background
Chair,
is not in finance.
Through your indulgence, Chair, and if you can answer this, I will ask you.
Order, Senator, order, order. I wouldn't entertain the exchanges because
I'm speaking through you. I'm not directly.
No. Let's the DG, because we call him to answer. If he's just giving one answer and there is the broken telephone in there, let him answer. I'll give you all the opportunity that you need, so that he doesn't also lose his line of thought.
Okay.
And these are supplementary questions that were not initially in your statement. So we are being because I also want to know. This is Kiambu County, so that's why I'm giving you all the opportunity to do. But let's give him an opportunity to answer.
Yeah, I was explaining that there is a retention. The issue that is raised on the financial statements, perhaps, Chair, this is something that we could be given an opportunity to respond to, whether written or verbal, or we appear again, because I honestly don't have it readily with me.
I think let's go with that direction, because also the Senator had requested the same, and we move to the next question.
If you indulge 30 seconds, then you agree there's no retention guarantee. Because the financial statement is your heart. It is like declaring.
We will give that submission to the committee, and that particular time, that's when we will rule to that, whether there was, whether there wasn't. So,
but Chair, this is a document that has been considered by Parliament, because OAG is an entity, is a creation of an office. It's like a police officer charging you. You cannot say, since I have not been taken to court, there is no OB occurrence book with Chair.
Well, so the committee will wait for that response, because you have that information.
But, the DG can request to come and respond again if he wants to.
That's what he said.
Chair.
Yes.
Senator, as I said, we also have to be seen to be fair to everyone, the people of Kiambu and also the DG. Now, we cannot tell him to go and bring us an answer, and we are already telling him the answer to the question that we are asking. We already know that there is no guarantee. Why should he come?
But he's saying he wants to come.
No, but you are saying there is no guarantee. So why do we need him to come?
Then, Chair, I'm happy because the committee has agreed with me that there was no retention money, there was no retention guarantee. Yes, because
Cherargei, you are out of order. We have all agreed, even to your request,
Yes.
that the DG is given time, which he has also said, he's going to give us that kind of information. And at that particular time, that's when this committee will make a decision, because we are fair, committee.
Correct.
And we hear everyone. We hear the person who has requested settlement, we hear my people in Kiambu, and also the DG. So we will make that declaration once that one is submitted. Okay. So very quick question of that land, then we go to the next question.
Earlier, that the acquisition, in our submission on page 3, that the status of the land acquisition of the project is as follows, that there were various gazette notices that gazetted various land parcels numbering 250 for acquisition, and the number of payment schedules that we received from the National Land Commission came in 3 schedules. One of them, 1,571,282.09 shillings, and the second one was 301,745,151 shillings, and the third one at 113,657,476 shillings, totaling, it's page 3, sorry, Senator.
Of his response.
Is the total sum of payment schedules is 1,986,684,636 shillings. And of these, we have paid through the NLC 605,299,871 shillings. And to date, we have a total balance, that is monies that we have not paid the affected persons, at 1,381,765 shillings that is not yet paid to the project affected persons. Chair, as you are maybe aware, is that we've been also getting significant budget cuts. And it is true we are seeking extra funding through our ministry to Treasury so that we are able to settle these outstanding balances.
So up to now, we are not sure whether my people of Kiambu County will be compensated within the coming financial year, because the balance of 1.4 billion for the people of Kabete, for the people who are just by the western bypass, all this amount is for the people of Kiambu. So is that to say that we are not sure whether they'll be compensated?
Chair, for persons will be compensated. I may not be in a position at this moment to commit that they'll be funded within this financial year or the next financial year fully, given the budgetary constraints that we are going through, but for sure they'll be compensated. Chair, you also asked...
Point of order, Chair. Point of order. When we passed the pending bill motion by Senator Ladama, and under the law, pending bill is the first charge. So when the DG says due to budget constraints, we will pay when the money is available, he should be telling us even if there are budget cuts, it will be in the interest, because we have passed a motion that says all pending bills, and these extrapolated from counties, must be the first charge. That is the law. So even if you are to get 100 million today to KNHA, they must try to offset 1.3 billion that is owed to the people affected in Kiambu County. So it is not a luxury that you can say, since there is a road construction that is requiring 2 billion, and you have a pending bill of 2 billion, you will say let 2 billion stay, then I will pay pending bill later. It's the first charge in terms of disbursement.
I think on the CS for transport will be best to answer that. But in line with that, as KNHA, how much did you request?
And I request to be there when the CS is coming.
Yeah, we will invite you, sir. We will invite you. That one we will have the CS to come. But as KNHA, in your proposal, how much have you requested to be put in the budget for such in the coming financial year? Because I believe every government agency will do their proposals. Then after we hear your proposal, then we will have the CS now to come here and tell us how much money that he is requesting so that he can compensate these people and the people of Kiambu, the people of Western Bypass. Because this is 1.3 billion, actually it's 1.4 billion. And the water department also owes the people of Kiambu again on land acquisition another 1.4 billion. That is 2.8 billion that is owed by government to my people. But anyway, that was just for informational purposes. But how much have you requested?
For more information, Chair, actually, why can't I propose that on this matter of these pending bills, we have a more detailed, proper engagement with the CS and the agencies. Because, Chair, our people, honestly, our people are suffering, seriously suffering. Senator Chelagi is making reference to the pending bills law, but personally make reference to a superior piece of legislation in the Constitution, Article 40, and then you are the lawyers, I'm not.
Yes.
If you're going to acquire private land or private property for public use,
Yes.
compensation is supposed to be prompt. So 5 years down the line, we have people whose land has been taken, and those who are supposed to be told now, you relax, there is a road that is serving you. But now it's hurting them. Many years down the line. That conversation, Chair, on pending bills is a conversation that I would interest this committee to consider having a substantive conversation with the CS, so that even if it means that we stop new developments,
Yes,
and first clear the backlog of especially people who are affected by projects. That would really be a good thing.
In fact, Chair, to add that, under Article 40, and I'm giving free legal advice, is it must be prompt and within market value. So your people, the house that they demolished during this Western Bypass was 5-6 years ago. It might have been worth 40 million. So you are paying them 5 years later, and the Constitution says prompt and with market value. So where is that is a legal conundrum that the committee must have a substantive, and I think you must look at it the entire from all the agencies.
Yes, I think that's what I'm saying, yes. And we will invite you to have that policy direction, because you see, the more you keep these monies, the more it gets interest, and the value goes up, and you may not be able. So let's not engage on that line. Let's have the DG conclude question number. We go to. You have two more questions before we go to Senator Kamau, and he's looking at me. Yeah? So I suggest you give us the answer to the two questions, then I'll allow a few questions, then we go to Senator Kamau's issue. Because mine, I have tied it in between the first question. So go to question 2, which appraise the committee on the progress made in securing the construction of footbridges at Odero 87 along James Geshoro Rironi A104 highway as agreed upon during the visit conducted by the committee on 4th November 2021. So this committee in the previous parliament visited that area and discussed on all these footbridges. So appraise the committee. Where are we? How many have you put? And when are you completing this project?
The James Gishuru Liloni 8 road project had packaged construction of 21 number footbridges along the road. And to date, one number footbridge has been constructed at kilometer 44 plus 700, that is near the junction to Maimahiu turnoff. And however, due to financial constraints, the provision of the aforementioned footbridges has not been completed. I'm on page 8, apologies. That the aforementioned footbridges has not been completed, and the contractor has suspended works since March 2022 due to delayed payment of Kenya shillings 3.5 billion. In the interim, speed calming measures, that is speed bumps and rubber strips, have been installed along the project road to enhance safety, especially for pedestrians, as we await enhanced funding to complete the outstanding works. Speed calming measures have been put in place in the following locations. And Chair, if you allow, do I read the table or do I?
Just say as listed.
Yes, as listed from number 1 to number 21.
But I wish you had put the names, you know, because when you say 21 plus 200 foot of a bridge, if you look at number 2 to number 6, foot of a bridge at Bus Rapid Transit Station, I think that's required a name where exactly. You know, yeah, I may not be an engineer to be able to read 21 plus 608.
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
We can amend as guided, Chair, for those particular ones. The others we have named like Nairobi School, Muhuri, Cooperative, Mudhiga, Zambezi. We can endeavor to do to name the others.
So what is the status of all this? I might have missed that. Senator Chirage was talking to me. What's the status of all these bridges? There are 21, right?
There are 21. We have constructed one.
Okay, so 20 remaining.
20 remaining. The other.
Senator Kamau, usipotee sana. Yes. Yeah.
So what we have done is because these locations have a lot of pedestrians. The only way to segregate that section so that pedestrians are a bit more comfortable, you know, crossing the road, we have put bumps and we have put rumble strips to assist in calming the traffic.
Okay. So 20 have not been constructed.
That is correct.
We have money for them? Or when do you think we should finish them?
Chair, we really need a Marshall Plan, I think, in the road sector, and we appeal to both houses of Parliament because the resources that we use come through the Parliament. We really need some sort of a Marshall Plan so that we are able to complete these roads.
So the 20 bridges require 3.5 billion?
Not correct, sir. Not correct, Chair. The 3.5 billion is the money that we owe the contractor, unpaid bills for work done. James Gishuru itself has quite a number of outstanding works. I think totaling about 7 or 8 billion of work that has not been done, from drainages to these footbridges to some overpasses like Angemi. There's quite a bit of work that has not been done because of the resources that we have.
Okay. Yes.
I have some benefit because I was in that committee when we visited that section of the road, and I thought the question was specific to a particular footbridge at the market. If my memory serves me right, the secretary can help. Yeah, there is a place we went and we were told that people crossing from one side of the market to the other, there were a lot of accidents. You know, people had been knocked down, and there was a commitment from KNHA at that time during the visit that there was going to be a construction of that particular Odhiro footbridge. And I thought that was a question. That the question was not the 21, the one of this specific one that where we had been told, and we have reason to believe that there were a lot of accidents, Chair.
So any other issue on this one? Because now this is a matter of budget allocation.
Yes.
Question 3. That you appraise the committee on the progress made in securing budgetary allocation for the compensation of the affected persons in the Mombasa Gate Bridge MGB project. Almost the same as that of Western. I think we should have joined these two together, but kindly keep us to speed.
Thank you, Chair. In 2019, JICA entered into an agreement to loan the Kenya government, the government of Kenya, Japanese yen 120 billion, which will cover 100% of the eligible costs, and this cost is inclusive of both construction costs, consulting services, and price escalation, and physical contingencies for works and consulting services towards the construction of the Mombasa Gate Bridge, MGB. The first phase of the loan, designated KEP 34, was signed on 5th December 2019 under special terms of economic partnership, STEP, amounting to Japanese yen 47.8 billion, while subsequent release and approval of the other phases of the loan will be subject to a decision of the government of Japan. The GOK is responsible for covering a counterpart fund portion for the following, that is land acquisition and compensation, general administration expenses and taxes and duties. And the project includes 5 phases, as listed in Table 5 below, that is Package 1, a cable stayed bridge across the channel, 1.32 kilometers. Package 2 on Mombasa Island, of construction of various sections of roads, 0.2 kilometers, 2.3 kilometers widening, and intersections. Package 3 is on the mainland south, the construction of a viaduct, 0.6 kilometers in length, 1.9 kilometers embankment, and 2.5 kilometers of frontage roads. Package 4 is on the mainland south, that is a construction of an embankment and at-grade sections. And Package 5 is the operation and maintenance of the facilities. That would be the installation of toll gates and a highway traffic management system, and a way in motion and multi-deck way bridges. Now, KNHA requested the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Roads and Transport, to approve the land acquisition process, and upon approval, the National Land Commission was notified of the need to undertake valuation process and facilitate the land acquisition process. NLC has hence seconded officers to inspect the affected properties together with staff from KNHA. And the team, as we speak, Chair, is on the ground serving gazette notices to the affected landowners in accordance with the Land Act. They are also undertaking inspections as part of the valuation process. The authority, through the Office of the PS, State Department of Roads, while seeking to resolve the issue of compensating the affected persons on the ground, has requested the National Treasury for the following through a letter that we have submitted, dated 30th December 2023, our Annex 5. They have asked for the following: assistance to secure an additional budget and release of the exchequer amounting to approximately Kenya shilling 700 million for land acquisition for Package 1 in this financial year, that is 23-24. And B, securing adequate budgets for the subsequent years commencing with the next financial year 24-25 to settle the balance of land acquisition costs estimated at 16.5 billion for Packages 2 and 4 in the Resettlement Action Plan.
So it's good for the committee also to note this request was actually made by the Japanese ambassador to this committee, that they are willing to conclude these projects, but they cannot go on unless these people are compensated. So the issue again comes to the budget allocation. and the availability of funds. So I don't know whether this is in your proposal in work plans, that once we invite the CS, we'll find that KNHA had requested for this money.
Yes, Chair, we have requested for the money, and we have attached actually under Annex 5 our request. Actually, the Annex 5 is through our PS to Treasury on the allocation for this particular project, from our PS to PS National Treasury, Annex 5.
Okay, I think that's a direct answer. So that means unless these funds are there, we are stuck.
Chair, we of course remain hopeful, and we'll get some support, I believe, from Treasury.
Okay. Members, any input on the issue, or we go to the next one, because some of these responses are just direct to the point. If none, then I know you have kept Senator Kamau, but at least thank you for being here. Clerk, take us to that response that the clerk was to give. I mean the DG.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, Senator Kamau did request for a statement for this committee. The statement is on the maintenance of the Lamu-Garsen Road. And in the statement, the Senator
Where's the document? Oh, the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Senator sought the following issues: to identify the contractor responsible for maintenance of the Lamu-Garsen Highway and outline the specific tasks encompassed within the scope of works assigned to the contractor. 2, to clarify if the contractor is obligated by the terms of the contract to perform bush clearing along both sides of the road, and if so, to what extent. And 3, explain whether the Ministry of Roads and Transport has established mechanisms to guarantee and maintain activities aligned within the stipulated standards. In the response to this statement, the Cabinet Secretary responded as follows: that the contractor engaged by KNHA for the maintenance of the Lamu-Garsen Highway is MS Equista Limited under a hybrid performance-based management contract that is instructed works and routine maintenance services for a period of 24 months. The commencement date was 12th August 2022 and is expected to end on 12th August 2024. The scope of instructed works include bush clearing within the right-of-way, construction of the following access roads to bitumen standards, that is Mkunubi Old Access Road of 2.3 kilometers, access to DDC office in Minjila, 2.8 kilometers, access to the CDF office in Minjila, that is 150 meters. We are on page 2 of that response. On the issues of grading and gravelling, it was the following roads. Roman 1, grading and gravelling of Minjila Loop Road of 2.5 kilometers, grading and gravelling of one of the access roads to Garsen Town, a stretch of 1.5 kilometers, gabion protection works, and drainage works involving pipe culvert installations, especially on the access roads. 5, road furniture comprising road markings, curbstone installations, and road reserve marker posts. Then the scope of routine maintenance services include maintenance of road usability, maintenance of road user comfort, maintenance of road durability, road patrols, data collection, inspections, and reporting. On page 3, number 2, the CS continues to respond that the contractor is obligated under the contract to perform bush clearing along both sides of the road. This was initially carried out as instructed works within the right-of-way as follows. A, kilometer 0 plus 00 to kilometer 1 plus 500, which is 40 meters, and B, kilometer 1 plus 500 to 115 plus 080, 60 meters. However, due to the specific insecurity along the road whose frequency was aggravated by the existence of the dense bush or forest adjacent to the right-of-way, KDF officers on the ground requested for a wider clearance of up to 100 to 150 meters on each side of the road on selected sections, totaling to approximately 68.5 kilometers. These works were also carried out as part of instructed works with adjustments to the contract scope to cater for payments of the extra works. Number 3, the ministry through KNHA has ensured that upon completion of the instructed works, the contractor has a contractual obligation to maintain the road at set service levels, failure to which financial penalties are applied in accordance with the contract provision. In addition to the said penalties, failure by the contractor to meet the said service levels leading to monthly penalties of more than 30% of the monthly performance-based contract amount for 3 consecutive months leads to termination of the contract by the employer. Chair, when the committee considered this response, there were certain issues that did not come out clearly and which resulted now in some further clarification. And there were the issue of bringing in KDF and the scope of works actually going to 68.5 kilometers, yet the total would only have come to 100 meters. So that is the clarity the committee wanted to find out in this revised scope of works. What were the changes and how much, and what is the current situation at the moment, Chair?
Thank you very much. I think before we go to the Senator, if Bwana DG, whether you have got that clear, why we wanted, because you see, according to the Senator and according to the committee, this response was not satisfactory or did not respond satisfactorily. So, and that issue of KDF officers on the ground, there was a feeling that they were not part of the contract. So you can respond to that.
Chair, perhaps through you, the clerk could just read that last part on what the concerns are.
The concern was, Chair, under number 2, this was initially carried out as instructed works within the right-of-way as follows. Kilometer 0 plus 00 to kilometer 1 plus 500, which was to cover 40 meters. B was kilometer 1 plus 500 to 115 plus 080, which was to cover 60 meters. So in total, it would have come to 100 meters. However, at the request of KDF to increase the clearance of the right-of-way for security purposes, the amount that was done was 68.5 kilometers. So that ought to have altered that contract, by quite a big margin. So the clarity was to what margin or what variation was this undertaken.
So, and also, the clerk, you can also clarify on this one, because we are talking about the bush clearing along both sides of the road. So in a layman's language, as per the contract, they were supposed to clear 100 meters. So is it 100 meters on either side of the road, 100 this way and 100 that way, and for how many kilometers going forward? But it is said the KDF requested a wider clearance because of security issues from 100 now to 150? So they increased 50 more. So that is the clarity that we wanted. If they increase 50 more inside the bush, and up to how many kilometers going forward? That is the clarification that, and how can KDF just request the contractor, like a gentleman's request? You can respond to that.
Thank you, Chair. This road runs through a security zone. And if you go there, and I think we were there a few weeks ago with the Honorable Senator, there's still a lot of presence of KDF in armored personnel carriers and other vehicles. So the reality is that we are guided once in a while on what to do by the KDF, being the security experts. The request for KDF to increase the amount of clearance, instead of 100 meters, go further 150. Instead of 40, do extra 100. That is guided by the KDF because they are the experts in that situation. The provision of bush clearing for us would be much less in terms of road safety. But you are going to deeper into the bush, 100 meters or 150 meters because of security reasons. And like I've indicated, as government agencies, we are required to work together. If they know there is an issue and the road authority is working on that section, naturally they would reach out and we would see how to assist so that they are able to keep all of us safe. And as to whether there was a variation order regarding this, Chair, I would have to clarify this one to check with my team. I don't want to mislead the committee. I would have to confirm whether there was a change on the overall contract due to this particular work activity.
Okay, Senator Kamau, you have additional questions or supplement?
Thank you very much, Chair. Indeed, I want to confirm that whatever the DG has said is true, that there is an additional work that was done by the contractor based on the advice from the Kenya Defence Forces. And I want to agree with him that that job was done. And as we speak, it is visible on the ground. But my concern is, one, apart from those areas that was designated by the Kenya Defence Forces to be done, there is some other parts that are supposed to be done by the contractor, and that is where my question is. It is still very bushy. I was with you the other week there, and you saw it. It is still very bushy. It is not done. What is the government doing to see to it that that road is done? Because as we speak, the contractor is doing nothing on that road. That is point number one. Number two, Chair, as we speak right now, the road from Garisen to Mokoe, the road that is less than 5 years since when it was opened, it is not passable, Chair, because it has a lot of potholes. As we speak, I was with the DG the other day there. He has seen, and he's telling us that he has the contractor on the ground who has been contracted for a period of 2 years. And as we speak right now, the road is not passable because it has a lot of potholes. What are you doing to see to it that those potholes are done by that contractor who is doing a very shoddy job? Number three, in the last page, you have indicated that if maybe the contractor does not do what is required to be done, there is a penalty that that contractor is supposed to pay. I just want to ask you whether you have evoked any sanctions against that contractor who is not doing anything on the ground for the last maybe 1 year. He has not been doing anything, and I believe as we draw to the near of the closure of the financial year, that contractor must have been paid as we speak for the job that is not done. That's all, my chair.
Yes, Banadiji.
Yeah, when we formulate contracts with fixed quantities. And if you want to live within the contract sum that you have, you may need, when you discuss such changes as the ones the KDF was requesting, which are necessary for security operations, those quantities will be moved around. When you do 150, and initially you had only a 60-meter corridor, that is about 30 meters, 30 meters. If you move the quantities and you do 100 here, 150 there, to do the same work with the same quantities, you may not do the entire route in terms of clearance. You may become strategic in terms of clearing what is of urgent, which is urgent with regard to security issues. And I believe this is what the team has done on the ground. Regarding the repairs for the road, it is correct. There are a few places we live in this country, we know the rains have affected quite a number of roads. There is a short section that we are discussing with my team, I saw it, which requires some urgent repair. That one is not completely waterlogged, and we'll be attending to that. And we are also aware that there's a cutoff. There's a cutoff on this road, on several sections. And what we have done since last year is to temporarily maintain the road so that people and vehicles would be able to pass and connect the people of Lamu with the rest of Kenya. Now, these works that were done were also damaged in the last rains significantly, which is why myself and Senator actually visited the Lamu County. Now, we are going to do some permanent works for these sections. And we'll be having box culverts that will allow water to pass under the road. And we believe in the next few months, you'll see a significant difference in terms of the works that we'll be undertaking, so that we maintain motorability for this road section in a permanent way.
At least I can hear you and maybe others, but proceed, Senator.
You know, Chair, I'm lacking words because the DG is my good friend. At the same time, he's trying to dodge some questions. Because I agree that the contractor did a very good job on the area that he was directed by the KDF to undertake. That one I agree, and it was done. What about the rest, or the other part that is supposed to be 40 meters, that is not done for a very long time? And as we speak right now, that road, you cannot even see a vehicle approaching from a distance because that bush is not cleared and that contractor is being paid. That is what I wanted you to clarify. Number two, I want to agree with you that the road that was cut just from Garisen to Gamba, around that place, I agree with you, the contractor was on site, and I don't know whether it is a different contractor who is doing that job or it is the same contractor, but the job is being done, I agree. The government has tried its best and something is being done on that road. I agree with you. But that's not my concern. My concern is on the issue of a lot of potholes that are on the road from Mukoe to Gariseni Road, and the bush is not cleared. That was the reason as to why I asked this statement, because that road, I was with you the other day and you saw it. It is not in a very good state. That is my concern, Chair. And the DG has not answered that. Because that road, as we speak right now, it is not cleared. And I believe the contractor must have drawn some money out, claiming that he has done the job, which is not done.
Also, maybe you can make the committee understand, because we are talking about the remaining 40 meters. Is it 40 meters vertically or horizontally?
Both sides.
Both sides of the...
Yes.
For how many kilometers? The whole road?
The entire road, apart from those small portions of that the KDF advised the contractor to do an extra job of around 100 to 150 meters. But the other road, the entire road is not done.
I get it. So the only part that has been done is what KDF advised. Well, maybe you should tell KDF to advise even on the other 40. But anyway, I would want to hear. I would want to hear the DG. Why the 40 that is in the contract has not been done?
Yes, maybe I try to explain again. It is that we are having a challenge in terms of what quantities to apply. We had contracted somebody for X number of square meters to be cleared. Now, this area has been changed in terms of priority by the KDF because of security concerns. When you go and deal with the issues raised by the KDF, it means you may forego for other sections. Recently, we had the washouts that we had, and we are all aware when we got the cutoff. We had to reprioritize that contract in a manner that we can give the people of Lamu some connection because we did not have additional resources. That reorganization, of course, may not prioritize bush clearing when you have a cutoff. That is why some of these areas have not been cleared. But let me assure you, Senator, we have a new contract that is coming up because the one that is ongoing is almost ending. And as a new one comes, we have quantities for the permanent works in terms of the crossings, for box culverts, and also for the repair of the road where there could be potholes. And then also we'll have the bush clearing also done. So we should be able to do it.
Okay.
Yes.
And we had a lengthy discussion on RMLF in our previous meeting. So I think we will be checking you on this. Any other question, or we keep pushing for RMLF to come and do the work? Yes, thank you very much, Senator. I think, wow, I know even members are tired because we've been here since 7 in the morning, but I seek your indulgence because we have the DG here. We wouldn't want to invite him again. There's one more, just one more. It will take about less than 10 minutes because it's a straightforward issue. And it was a statement requested by a member of this committee, that is Senator Lelegwe. It is, if I can get it, statement by Senator Dr. Lelegwe, MP, regarding the state of roads in Samburu County. It is, I think, in separate, what, 2? Everyone at DG, because it's fresh from the kitchen. You just responded the other day on this issue. You can just clarify. I know the senator is not here, but we will be able to update him. So, clerk, very fast, what was the statement?
Thank you, Chair. This was a statement by Senator Lelegwe, and the statement was on the state of roads in Samburu County. In the statement, the senator had requested for the following information: to provide the status of the Lerata Wamba Kisima Road and outline the timelines when the road will be upgraded to bitumen standards, explain the reasons why the Mara Baragoi South Hall Road is not upgraded to bitumen standards despite being classified as Class A, and if there are any budgetary plans for upgrading it. 3. Explain the discrepancy in the use of asphalt concrete in the construction of Rumuruti Muwarak Road as compared to the chip sealing stroke surface dressing for the Muwarak Marar, considering the whole road stretch, that is Rumuruti to Mara, is high traffic and trucks carrying high loads use the road, and if there are plans to improve it to uniform standards. And lastly, to disclose the funding allocated by KNHA to Samburu County covering the financial year 2020-2021 to 2022-2023 as provided, and provide a breakdown of budgetary allocations by the National Treasury per constituency. In the response to that statement, the CS responds that the above road has been under routine maintenance annually to ensure it remains passable by reinstating damaged areas, protecting vulnerable sections, and spot improvement to reduce travel time. In this financial year, 2023-2024, the maintenance works for the road link were carried out ending on 24th November 2023 for Kisima to Wamba section and 3rd December 2023 for the Wamba to Lerata section. The road is motorable and has seen incremental improvement in its usage. Detailed engineering design of the road section is complete and construction is subject to availability of funding from the Government of Kenya through the development vote. On the second issue, KNHA completed the detailed engineering design phase of the road section. The construction phase is subject to availability of funding. And 3, the construction of the Muruti Naibor, that is Morak Road, was completed in 2017. The surfacing of the as-built pavement structure was 50 millimeters AC and single seal surface dressing. Over the years, KNHA has been undertaking rehabilitation works on the road section through a performance-based maintenance contract. The Naibor Muarak Mara Road project is a stage construction that commenced on 20th of June 2017. At the time, the road did not carry a considerable amount of traffic. The limited budget allocation and the traffic volumes then allowed for a stage construction whose scope included construction of sub-base level and double surface dressing. In future, KNHA is committed to constructing full design thickness of the pavement subject to availability of funds. Then there is a table which shows KNHA allocation for the mentioned financial years. That is 2020-2021 of 1.197 billion. In the financial year 2021-2022 was 269.7 million. And in the financial year 2022-2023, an allocation of 450.485 million. Chair, I submit.
Okay, I don't know, now that the senator is not here, I think the best thing is to note the content of this response. And again, this will be directed to if there is any supplementary issue when the CS comes, because after today's meeting I'm going to give a direction. But unless there is any member who has any issue, would want to, because we wanted to know how much has been projected for this in the year 2023-2024. So I would say these are straightforward, unless Bwana DG, you have something to comment on this issue.
Chair, not you, the clerk had a question that maybe the senator was, because to us, I think we've answered the question as asked. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so the content is noted and we can report to the House. And now looking at the time, I think I would want to give one who has some closing remarks before I direct what to do next. So I don't know whether the DG or my members here have something to say, your closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Chair, and honorable senators. I engage with parliaments and represent the people. It is always a learning experience at times, and we appreciate the guidance that we get. We thank you for having us here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, members. From today's deliberations, moving forward, I direct as follows, that the CEO, National Land Commission, should appear before this committee to appraise the committee on the pending bills when it comes to compensation to acquired land, not just for Kiambu County or not just for the Western Bypass or the James Gishoro Road, but all over the country. We need to know how much that NLC owes the people of Kenya. Number two, from the deliberations on the EPC projects, I think this committee should note that we need proper policy guidelines to be drafted if there is none, or to be enhanced, because that issue of retainance amounts seems to be lost in translation somewhere. So that is the work of the department or the agency to pursue on that direction. Number 3, I will call it a full explanation or documentation on the issue of the bank guarantee, surrounding the retainance fee or the retainance amount, for the committee to note and also understand the scenario surrounding that. I also understand that CSR is voluntary, but I believe it is put in the contract when the contractor takes on the job. I think there is that segment where they're supposed to do a CSR. So I would want the department or the agency to appraise this committee which projects were done under CSR from that road, that is the Western Bypass. Just a list of those CSR projects. And when the CEO, National Land Commission, appears before, will issue or bring a list of all the beneficiaries of the land compensation on the Western Bypass. The names of all the beneficiaries of this Western Bypass and how much they owe each person. Once we sit with the CEO and we get this information, the next thing that we are going to do is to invite the CS, Roads and Transportation, that is Kipchumba Murkomen, to appear before the committee and give his commitment on the conclusion of these issues once the committee deliberates and comes up with further recommendations and direction. So it is so guided, it is so directed.
Chair, your Dungeons, can I ask to amend the direction on the list of the people that are being compensated for land to also include, because this is a live matter before this committee,
Okay.
the compensation for PAPs from Kibwezi, Mutomo, Kitui, Umwingi Road. Well, it's a live matter in this committee.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So the Secretariat, you have noted that. We also include the PAPs of Kibwezi, Mutomo, Kitui, Mwingi Road, the beneficiaries, and how much each is owed. So I think with that, we come to the end of this meeting. Thank you very much, Bwana DG, for your indulgence and, of course, your time. And we have had healthy deliberation. And as it was stated here in this committee by Senator Wambua, this is a learning process, We get to understand so that we put everything as it's supposed to be within the law, and of course,